Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my winter 2022 TBR. So I do still have a handful of books left over from my fall TBR and then also TBRs before that. And those include Gilded by Marissa Meyer, Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, and The Beautiful by Renee Adia. There's also whatever is left over for my December TBR by the time the month is over, and then also The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty, because I will forever be reading this trilogy and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So everything that I just mentioned, everything that I just said is all still in the mix here for my winter TBR, but my goal for today's video is to set out a lot of options for myself for the season, and I need some fresh books in my TBR pile, so I do have 10 books here to talk about today. It's kind of 11, but we'll get there, and then it's also not kind of, it is 11. So with that, the content warnings for everything that I talk about today will be linked down below in the description. We're gonna go in alphabetical order here, then afterwards I will quickly name my 5-star predictions from this TBR. So we are going to start this video off with The Book of Night by Holly Black. This takes place in a world where shadows can be manipulated to do many things, including entertainment, cosmetics, power, and influence. However, doing so comes with the possibility of taking time from your life. This follows our main character who throws herself into a power struggle for shadow magic after a terrible figure from her past returns. This is one that I'm honestly a little bit nervous about. This is Holly Black's adult debut, which makes me very curious because I have enjoyed and even loved a lot of this author's YA, but I also do know the reviews for this have been pretty shaky and even a little rough, which is where the nervousness comes in, but I do want to give it a chance, especially because of the shadow element to this specifically. That sounds dark and interesting, and things that are dark and interesting are often very fun for me. So we'll see how this goes because I have no idea how I'm going to react to this, but I'm looking forward to trying, I think. So next up is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This follows our main character Bryce, who seems to be living the perfect life until she finds herself in the middle of the investigation into the murders of her closest friends. She is striving for revenge, and then this also follows our other main character, Hunt, who is a fallen angel who is offered a deal. In order to win his freedom from the archangels, he needs to help Bryce find the murderer. This is yet another one that I am very nervous about. I have not had the greatest history with this author, but that was like 6 or 7 years ago now, and this is also not YA. So things have changed and the circumstances are different. There's also a part of me that is really excited for the romance here because that does sound kind of fun, but what I am looking forward to most is just exploring the city. I've read so many books where the city and the setting itself have really driven a majority of my enjoyment in those books. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what this one has to offer, and that goes for everything about this book, but especially for the city. So next up is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. This is a thriller that follows our main character who is ready for a fresh start as she feels that she has never really fit in anywhere. However, she puts a pause on her future plans in order to take care of her fragile mother, and by doing so she also meets a charming new recruit from her brother's hockey team who seems like he is hiding something. After witnessing a murder, she agrees to go undercover in an FBI investigation of a dangerous and lethal new drug. I have been saving this one for my winter TBR. I'm not sure why. It may be because like fire equals warmth, and that sounds very welcome during the winter season, but either way, I am very excited to have this in my TBR pile. I've heard really amazing things about this. I feel like I don't read a ton of thrillers, but I feel like I've been reading a lot of them recently, especially within the murder mystery area, and this one in particular does sound really interesting. My experience with this genre so far is that if I enjoy them, I really love them, but when I haven't enjoyed them, it has not been fun at all, and I have not had many fun experiences with this genre in my reading life, which is why for a while I was steering completely clear of them. But I've always wanted to get back into it, and it's nice to be back because I feel like I am finally having the experiences that I've always wanted to with this genre, which has been lovely, and hopefully this book will become a positive addition to that. So next up is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. This takes place in Shanghai in the 1930s and follows a pair of spies who have to pose as a married couple in order to investigate a series of murders. Okay, so this is a spot that is technically for 2 books. Foul Lady Fortune is the one that we're going to be talking about today, but the other is Our Violent Ends, which is the sequel to These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. There's no way that I'm staying away from that sequel for too much longer. These Violent Delights is one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. So yeah, that is definitely in this TBR, but I feel like I haven't really talked much about Foul Lady Fortune on this channel yet. And today is the day that that is going to happen. This sounds amazing. I have very much enjoyed the way Chloe Gong has handled the enemies to lovers trope in These Violent Delights. And this does sound like another one of those. It's giving me a little bit of Serpent and Dove, which I loved when I read that. And then this one is also providing me with more murder mysteries to explore, which again, I really loved in These Violent Delights. It was dark and spooky and everything that I wanted it to be and more. So my expectations are definitely high here, but I do really think that they will be met. So next up is Harrow the Knife by Tamsyn Muir, which is the sequel to Gideon the Knife. So typically for this series, I just read the author's blurb that is on the front of this book because I feel like it is a more accurate description than anything I could put together personally. And that blurb says, lesbian necromancers explore a haunted gothic palace in space. Decadent nobles vie to serve the deathless emperor. Skeletons. So about a year ago, I read the first 100 pages of this and put it down for a little break. And then that little break ended up not being little because I haven't picked it up since. But the next book in this series is out, and I am using that to incentivize myself to pick this one up, and let's face it, start from the beginning. I did have some trouble getting into Gideon the Knife, despite there being a lot of things that I really loved about it, Harrow included. That one took me a long time to read, and it seems like this one is going to be no different. I don't really know what happened here, honestly. I was enjoying it, I was intrigued, but I do think that I did just have that same problem of getting into it. Like, I think I might have zoned out while reading this and missed something important and then just never recovered. But it's time to try that again. I'm also probably going to need a recap of Gideon the Knife, but that is easy enough to find. And I am ready to get back into this series. I feel determined, and hopefully it goes well. So next up is Incendiary by Zoraida Córdova. This follows our main character who has the ability to steal memories, which resulted in the death of thousands of her people after she is kidnapped at a young age. She is then rescued from the palace by a group of rebel spies despite their distrust and hatred of her, and she is working with them against the crown. However, after their unit commander gets captured, she is forced to go back to the palace undercover in order to fulfill his top secret mission. This has been on my TBR for a long time, and it's time for that to no longer be the case. This is a reimagining of the Spanish Inquisition, and I typically do love and enjoy retellings. This one also sounds like it has some court politics in it, which I also do love and enjoy. So yeah, this one sounds like it's going to check a lot of boxes for me, which is why I hauled it in the first place. And I am very much looking forward to finally reading it. And next up on this TBR is Iron Widow by Xiran Zhao. This is a book that blends Chinese history with mecha science fiction. The girls pilot giant transforming robots against the mecha aliens that are beyond the Great Wall, and the boys dream of pairing up with them, even though the girls often die from the strain that this puts on their minds. This follows our main character who plans to assassinate the male pilot who is responsible for the death of her sister. However, when her vengeance comes in an unexpected way, she gets labeled as the Iron Widow and then also paired with the strongest and most controversial male pilot. She uses this as an opportunity to figure out why the pilot system works in misogynistic ways and also stop more girls from getting sacrificed. This sounds so cool, like in every way possible. I feel like I don't read a ton of sci-fi despite it being one of my favorite genres, especially when it comes to like the mecha side of things, but I am really excited to dive into this. And although the cover and the mecha aliens were the first things on my mind when I hauled this, this also does have feminist and queer themes and representation, so like Incendiary, I feel like this is going to check a lot of boxes for me. I am very excited for everything about this. So next up is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. As punishment for their past rebellion, 9 Greek gods have to walk the earth as mortals every 7 years while being hunted down by the descendants of ancient bloodlines. This follows our main character Lore, who has since fled from this world after her family's murder. However, 2 of the hunt's participants end up seeking her out, including Athena, who offers her an alliance against a mutual enemy. There are many things that I am looking forward to about this. One is that competition. I think it sounds really interesting, and then the other is just mythology. I have not read an Alexandra Bracken book in quite a few years now, and that one was The Darkest Minds, which was a book that I was really enjoying up until the ending, so I am hoping lore fares a little bit better here. I do think it's time that I try to get back into this author because this book honestly sounds really amazing. So next up is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is a magical realism story that takes place in New York City and follows a group of characters who can feel the pulse and the soul of the city itself. As New York has 6 souls, some ancient and then some new and destructive. I have no idea if I just gave a decent description of this book, like at all, because I feel like I still fully don't know what this book is about, and I think it may just be something I have to find out once I read it, which is fun because I feel like I haven't done that in a while. But like I talked about earlier in this video, I am very excited to explore this city. I've heard that this captures New York City really well in that sense. And then I've also been wanting to get into this author for so many years because I've heard so many amazing things. And then I've also hauled quite a few books by this author over the years, and it's time to finally start reading them because they all sound amazing. And I feel like they also all sound like they have really intriguing and compelling ideas and concepts. I am definitely ready to read this and then also probably pick up the others soon afterwards because I feel like after I read this, I'm going to just want to fully dive in. And that is what I want. That is what I am looking for here, and hopefully I end up loving this as much as I think that I am going to. And the final book for this TBR is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is a dark urban fantasy that takes place in a city that is overrun by monsters. It follows the 2 heirs of the city as they must choose between becoming the heroes or the villains while their own futures and the future of their city is at stake. This is yet another one that has been on my TBR for quite a few years now. I have been on a journey of sorts to read every single book by this author, and this one is up next. I also read Gallant very recently, and I didn't have the best time, but it did still have things that I really liked about it, and this author has written a lot of things that I have really liked and have even loved. From the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy, to Vicious and Vengeful, to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. For this one in particular, I am very interested in the music aspect of this because I know this incorporates some music elements. I am also intrigued by the monsters and hopefully some morally gray main characters. And then I'm just excited to read this author again. There's always something that fully captures and immerses me, and hopefully this one will be no different. Been giving out too many 5 stars recently. I've had a lot of books that I have really loved and enjoyed get really close to it, but not many have fully crossed that threshold for me. But now it is time to name the books from this TBR that I do think have a good chance at doing so. And those are The Empire of Gold, Firekeeper's Daughter, Foul Lady Fortune, and then also Our Violent Ends, Iron Widow, The City We Became, and finally This Savage Song. Okay, so with that, that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!